There are some new images and details for the Odyssey movie thanks to a new article by Empire magazine here in the UK. This looks to be the last big set of interviews that we are getting from Empire leading up to the release date of the film, and we do get quite a few interesting details inside. There are discussions with director Christopher Nolan and actors Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Anne Hathaway and Robert Pattinson talking a bit more about their experience in filming the mythical epic. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing all the images and details shared, breaking down the latest info from the film. Before I get into it though, if you want to keep up to date on any of my content surrounding Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, then don't forget to support this upload by giving it a like rating, subscribing to the channel, and turning on your notifications. But without further ado, let's discuss the new images and details for The Odyssey from Empire magazine. So Empire magazine has released a feature on the Odyssey movie giving us a lot of new details and images from Nolan's film. The article is the main story in this month's magazine, and it features 3 covers with the main characters, including one of Matt Damon's Odysseus ready to embark on his long journey home, Anne Hathaway's Penelope holding the fort in Ithaca, and Tom Holland's Telemachus going on his own quest to search for his long-lost father. There is also a subscriber version which shows a mythical depiction of Odysseus' storm-battered boat and is illustrated exclusively for the magazine by Paul Schipper. The new images featured inside the magazine include Christopher Nolan and Matt Damon on set to film the Laestrygonians scene, another of Damon entering the cave of the Cyclops Polyphemus, one of Damon following the siege of Troy, another of him with Zendaya's Athena, and also the very first look at Samantha Morton as Circe. There are also other images shared in the article, and I'll be showing them on screen throughout this video. So let's get right into it. So before the cast and crew went out to film, Empire spoke with Nolan and the crew about adapting the Odyssey and the emotion behind it. The first thing to note was that we got an answer to the alias of the film being called Charlie's Tale. Following the naming of previous projects after their kids, it was a reference to Christopher Nolan and Emma Thomas's Chocolate Labrador. And on top of this, they say that Charlie's name was actually used for a very good reason. Nolan said, "I don't think that you can adapt the Odyssey if you're not a dog owner. Charlie's our first dog, and I think I had to become a dog owner before I could truly understand the emotional heart of this film." Of course, Odysseus' pet dog Argos is a dog that represents loyalty, devotion, and the joys of home. It's everything that drives the legendary hero as he journeys the 560 nautical miles from Troy to Ithaca. In the interview, we then get some new info on Nolan approaching the story through all the versions of the Odyssey he's read, followed by Matt Damon and Anne Hathaway's thoughts on the screenplay. Starting with Nolan, the filmmaker said, "I've lost count of the number of translations that I've read. It is a collection of the most fundamental and evocative extrapolations of everyday life, what it is to be human. I guess that's why the Odyssey has stuck around." As an example of the adaptation, he also mentioned to Empire about how he came to settle on the placement of the axe heads on Ithaca's palace floor with 6 rows of 2 axes crossed. He was inspired to take this approach through reading a translation by Robert Fitzgerald in 1961. Matt Damon then joined the conversation with Empire and added, "I was astounded by the entire adaptation, it's really something. There's stuff I can't give away, but it really landed with me emotionally in a way that Homer's The Odyssey itself doesn't as much." Anne Hathaway also said, "It was all there coiled inside of these words that had so much power to them. Some of Nolan's phrasing almost felt like incantations. The Greek word for evil is karko, and you can only spit that word out. I felt that way about so much of Chris's language, it had that kind of power that, moves across time." So we get to the filming, and this is where we get multiple details on how director Christopher Nolan put together some of the biggest set pieces of his new film, including both the Cyclops scene and the Laestrygonians sequence. In talking about infusing the Odyssey with a greater sense of realism, Nolan began by talking about the Cyclops sequence. Apparently, they pulled it off with a combination of all kinds of techniques, from animatronics to puppetry, all overseen by Interstellar's tar star Bill Irwin. This included a towering 60-foot contraption that brought a sense of gargantuan scale to set. Nolan said, "Everything about the Cyclops sequence is aimed at trying to imagine what would this be like in real life. Not approaching it from a storybook or cartoony point of view, but really trying to be in there with Odysseus and his men. It's a horrifying situation." Bill Irwin was doing voices and noises and was with us that entire time. That sequence was shot inside Nestor's cave in Greece, which brought with it its own challenges. Matt Damon added to this conversation, saying, "At the cave mouth there was a buzzing, and you could hear it in the movie, because there were thousands of bees right at the mouth of the cave. You had to walk through this curtain of bees to get inside." Meanwhile, inside the cave there was a rather ripe smell, thanks to the 40 sheep who were part of the scene. "I've built a lot of caves before, but shooting in a real cave, the feeling is utterly different. Once the rock is moved across the door and you're in the dark, it's very, very oppressive. It gave us a sense of the reality." We then come on to the Laestrygonian scene, and Nolan talked about wanting to capture that moment as one of the toughest tests in Odysseus' journey. Empire also say that they got to see all the action unfold, visiting the set last July in Scotland's Coolbin Forest. Among the practical techniques that Nolan used to shoot the all-out assault are forced perspective illusions and wirework that sent stuntmen hurling through the air, all captured by 7 IMAX cameras. He also revealed an interesting detail in that they used a gizmo that the crew refers to as the turntable, essentially a massive platter with concentric rings whirling in different directions and a camera spinning around it on a track. So essentially, as people hack at each other with swords on top, the result is a sense of total disorientation. Empire witnessed a forced perspective optical illusion shot via Steadicam that makes the forest itself seem like a malevolent force. For the director, it was all about the disorientation and danger presented to Odysseus. He said, "It was a fun sequence to shoot, and it's really a thing of trying to get across the brutality. The Laestrygonians are warriors, and their weapons and armour is of a level of sophistication that Odysseus has never seen." As with Odysseus' other fantastical encounters, these set pieces all serve to challenge him on a character level, while also providing the audience thrills. The point of the Laestrygonians in the story, as it is in the original poem, is to show in some ways the questionable nature of Odysseus' leadership. It's to give his men a reason to doubt him, and so what they come up against leaves them all shaken. Moving on, the article also briefly mentions some of the other big filming locations and sequences of the film, and then it also gave us our very first look at Samantha Morton's Circe. Starting with the rest of the filming locations, they filmed in Morocco for scenes involving the Battle of Troy, featuring 1,200 extras. They then hit the shores of Greece. Emma Thomas says, "There's a reason people don't go on holiday there until much later in the year." Chris said right from the beginning that he didn't want a film set in the sunny version of the Mediterranean. He wanted the seas and the weather to feel like a threat. And he wanted this to feel like a world in which these people feel small in the context of nature. Empire said that they then went onwards to the highlands and glacial regions of Iceland, a landscape so desolate that it inspired co-star Himesh Patel to ask Matt Damon, "Matt, is this the toughest conditions you've ever shot in?" Damon replied to this by saying, "I'm not sure, Himesh, but if it isn't, then you were with me." And then coming to the Ithaca scenes, this included the only stage-bound set created for the entire production. Now, they did go to Favignana for the Ithaca exterior shots, and for those scenes they had to trek up a mountain every morning. Robert Pattinson said, "It was a full-on mountain, and I don't even think it was something that anybody actually climbs up regularly. It's not like we're only getting 10 people up there, we're getting 700 people to the top of this mountain every single day." Empire said that rather than battle the elements, director Christopher Nolan just kept shooting no matter what the condition was. They marched on through the sideways rain, the thumping hail, and the boiling heat. Furthermore, in discussing the characters in the Ithaca scene, Pattinson talked a bit more about his character Antinous, saying, "I think in my first conversation, I was saying that Antinous kind of reminded me of James Woods in Casino." He's just someone who has no respect for honour, and not only does he not care about Zeus's law and the old ways, he has no code at all. There's nothing he really believes in. And then in the aim to outwit Antinous, Hathaway talked a bit about Penelope. The actress said, "There's a way to think about her that she is just kind of passively, quietly waiting, but I didn't see her like that. I saw her as this incredible, active, ride-or-die partner. I wanted her to have a sense of danger to her, that she's not doing this out of a sense of duty, and she genuinely loves Odysseus with her whole fiery soul." Part of Penelope's plan involves reading a shroud on her loom with the understanding that she'll have to choose a suitor to marry once it's finished, so she secretly unpicks it each night, buying herself more time. In regards to this, Hathaway said, "I'm not known for my craft work, we practiced on a makeshift loom, and then I got some time to practice on the big one that was on the set. It was lovely, and there was something so rhythmic about doing it." And this now brings us onto the info we got surrounding Circe. The article gave us our first look at Samantha Morton, who is playing one of fiction's most iconic witches, the sorceress who weaves a dark spell on the Voyagers. Emma Thomas talked a bit about the actress's performance, saying that when she finished her scene, she got a round of applause from the cast and crew. She said that that's something they hadn't seen since actor Heath Ledger back on The Dark Knight. Nolan said, "Samantha Morton is somebody that I wanted to work with for a very long time, and she was absolutely who I had in mind as soon as I finished the script for Circe and the way we were approaching that character. I was just thrilled when she said yes." Now, praising her performance and holding it up in regards to Heath Ledger's Joker may have you asking questions, but this has also been something that I have heard from multiple people who've seen the film, and also other sources who have briefly discussed it themselves. They've all said that Samantha's small part in the film, something we have seen nothing of yet in the marketing other than this image, is some of the best acting in the entire film. So it's going to be really intriguing to see how the Circe scene is brought to the big screen, especially knowing what happens in those moments in Homer's poem. Finally, as we get to the end of the article, Empire gave us a few final details from the director on the film having an R rating, and then also Matt Damon, Robert Pattinson and Tom Holland's response to seeing the movie for the very first time. Starting with Nolan, he said that he wants The Odyssey to feel visceral and modern, and the R rating was part of that decision. He said, "I went to the studio at the very beginning and had a very honest conversation with them that we wanted to make the most intense version of The Odyssey. With the weapons of the time, they are more brutal, and you're talking about swords and bows and arrows and things like that. So I concluded pretty early on that it would be very difficult and potentially compromising to make a PG-13 version of this story. I don't feel as if there's anything gratuitous in the film at all. It's really just about making it fresh and accessible, speaking to today's audience." And coming to the cast reactions to seeing the film, Matt Damon, Tom Holland and Robert Pattinson headed to Nolan's personal screening room to watch the whole thing. Empire said that the trio were sat stunned, with Pattinson's reaction being, "There's so much movie." Holland also said, "Making this film felt as much like an adventure as the one on the screen, and the one on screen exceeded my expectations. When the movie finished, it was late at night, and had it been 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I would have said to Chris, 'Do you mind if we just throw it on again?' I don't understand how he's done it without using CGI. I said to Chris in talking about the sequence with the Laestrygonians, 'How the hell did you do that?' And as for Damon, he said, 'It occupied such a huge piece of real estate in my head that I worried it wouldn't live up to my hopes. But it ended up being as big as it was in my memory. All of it, from the bees, the bruises, and the swallowed seawater, was worth it in the end.'" But they were all the main images and details released from the new Empire edition of Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. What do you guys think towards the new images and details from the film, and based on everything you've heard surrounding Nolan's latest epic, are you excited to see it later this month? For much more videos and breakdowns, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like, rating, and follow me on social media via the links in the description. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.